Welcome back. You're still watching Closing Trades right here on ET. Now, as promised before the break, touch base with Manish Santhalia, who is Senior Vice President and Head Equity Portfolio Management Services at Motilal Oswal Asset Management PMS. Thanks very much, Manish, for taking out the time and speaking with us and joining us again. What's the view now? I mean, we were talking about it last week. The runaway rally, it seems to have paused for a bit. So what happens to all the talk about further upside from here?
I think it's just a pause, as you said. So I think bulk of the up move will happen before the elections, and the elections are still some time away. So I think it's just a pause.
Manish, please excuse me. I will come to you on that same thought. Just need to hear the Sahara Council first.
So far as proposal is concerned,
we have challenged the order of the Supreme Court insofar as it illegally confines Mr. Subrata Roy Sahara in custody, and that is in terms of the judgment of Antule, which we have pleaded and said that a writ of habeas corpus be issued and he should be released from jail immediately. As he is neither a party nor any charges have been framed against him, nor has he been told what is his offence, and yet without authority of law he has been detained in judicial custody, which is totally contrary to the procedure prescribed under law, especially under the CPC, which prescribes that he should be put in a civil prison. No, promoter has no role to play under the Contempt of Courts Act. Contempt of Court Act, it's the law which governs contempt of courts, which says a director or an officer in default, not a promoter. The law cannot be changed.
Sir, what is the proposal you are bringing up for the
at this stage, there is no question of proposal. He is in custody. Whatever proposal has to come, that will come once the main matter is listed. Today the matter was for the purposes of his release.
The main matter is there any date given?
No date has been given. We are very surprised how it was deleted, and after that registry has not indicated any date.
The court had allowed Mr. Roy to meet lawyers and consultants every day for 2 hours. Are these meetings happening?
yeah, this is happening.
That is happening. That is taking its own course.
They're reiterating that the order for Subrata Roy's custody is illegal, deeply embarrassed to argue a writ before original bench. That's what he's stating as of now, and reiterating his stance. That's pretty much been the opinion and the stand taken by the Sahara Council, the Sahara Group, and the team of lawyers. And we've been tracking the story right from the word go. Just coming back to the markets, Manish, you were making the point about this pause in the market, which is just a pause, before we see another up move from here.
Sure. So I'm of the opinion that markets still have some upside before the elections. We are not done with it fully, and the way some of the large caps, particularly so in the BFSI space, they still have some upside. So whether it be an HDFC Bank, ICICI, or an HDFC, these are heavyweights on the Sensex, and whether a 2 book becomes a 2.5 book before elections, I mean, nobody will mind. So that's how it is, and so I would think that markets still have some upside, closer to 6,700 to 7,000 before the election results are out is not ruled out.
Manish, the character of the last 500 points at least has been that a lot of mid caps or the broader markets have participated, and with a vengeance, so to say. A lot of these stocks have run up quite a bit, probably more so than some of the large caps. Do you think that will be the nature going ahead as well? Even if we were to gain either 300, 500 or 1,000 points on the Nifty, that will be a lot more broad-based as opposed to being narrow?
So I think now that we have crossed the previous highs as far as the index or the benchmark indices are concerned, Nifty or the Sensex, but if you look at the BSE 200 or the BSE 500, they're still far away from the all-time highs that we saw in Jan 2008. So I mean, Nifty BSE 200 would be something like 30% away, or a BSE 500 would still be something like 50% away. So I think individually stocks are making a comeback depending on fundamentals. Is more of a bottom up rather than anything to do with the election or country specific, but it's more about the valuation gap which has happened, and people find more comfort in putting money at slightly lower valuations than what the large caps would be trading at. So I would think it is playing out that way.
Speaking of stocks or the large cap space, you've of course had a liking to oil and gas. We've discussed this as well. My question to you again on oil and gas, and particularly the oil marketing companies, stems from the fact that rupee has at least shown signs of gaining considerably, and in all probability may do so further as well. Is that factor, coupled with the fact that we've had non-stop 50 paise price hikes as well and almost autonomous pricing for petrol, make a good case for the oil marketing companies? Would you buy them at the current levels, Manish?
They do make a very strong case for buying, but the hard fact is that diesel under recoveries, even at 107 on the Brent, is now 8 rupees per litre. Even though we have seen hikes of 50 paisa for more than a year now, it's still 8 rupees, and nothing to talk about on kerosene and all those other things. But I think the expectation from the market is that should there be some sort of rationality prevailing on the fuel subsidies front, these stocks as a basket are quite undervalued, whether you look at it from a earning based valuation model based on their ROEs, or whether you look at it on a price to book basis. I think one thing is for sure, any government when it comes to power, this is one urgent issue which needs to be tackled, and now maybe the markets are feeling that some way or the other this issue will get sorted out, and so valuations are correcting more towards their fairer, what their fair value should be, as opposed to quite an undervalued sort of a situation 6 months ago. So they are clear buys at this given point in time, but one needs to be more certain about the timing as to which government comes to power, what sort of priority would they have towards the fuel subsidies, etc.
By the way, just still Manish, so much more to speak about, just getting some trading ideas going as well. Just want to point out a couple of stocks. There is a slightly illiquid stock called Aditya Birla Chemicals. Just in the last 2 minutes, the stock has shot up in trade 7 or 8%, suddenly out of the blue. It's not a very liquid stock, I repeat, but there, look at the charts, 11% higher now, still 16,000 shares traded. So it's not 800 or 1,000 shares, but AB Chem has just shot up in the last few minutes of trade. So good going out there. And then there's a slew of other stocks. I saw Birla Rixon, I also saw an Alpha Geo, but those are illiquid ones. This one has certainly shot up in the session. Looking at the large caps and what's done well today, we've spoken about Sun Pharma and a few others. So that Sun Pharma, the move is really amazing. 4% is the top gainer on the Nifty, but Asian Paints has gained some strength as well. Mitesh, we've discussed almost all the others. What about Asian Paints? I think you mentioned it, but at 491, 492, it's trading at the highest point of the day. Would you trade Asian Paints?
It was my 230 trading idea, Neeraj, a buy on Asian Paints. Yes, I would want to trade into Asian Paints even if it's moved up by about 1% or so after that. I think once it manages to get past 499, I think 515, 520 would be the range the stock will head towards. So the chart pattern is quite positive. The stock has gone through a correction for the last 4 to 5 months and now is giving a signal of an up move, which logically should be very strong.
All right, just getting ideas at 255 from both our guests. Sandeep, come to you first. What is it that you'd recommend?
Tanvir, I too would go with the Asian Paints. A buy in Asian Paints, stop loss 485, target 505. The second call is a buy in L&T Finance. It is very clearly broken out of the prior swing high, and I see some more upside. So I would buy it with a stop loss of 81, target of 96. And a sell in BHEL that is showing weakness today, so I see some more trading downside. So stop loss of 182, target of 171.
Wow, okay, a short trade on BHEL. Mitesh, Asian Paints of course you would do, but what would be a top trading area at 255?
A sell on Neeraj, Aurobindo Pharma. I think that's a stock which appears to have completed a pullback, keeping a stop about days high of 504. Would suggest selling this for targets of around 470.
Okay, thanks a lot for those ideas, gentlemen. Let's head into the break, but as we head into one, here are Mrinal Singh, fund manager at ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company, who earmarks sectors to watch out for. He believes that IT and pharma will remain strong in the long term, but wants to avoid the consumption stocks due to steep valuations.
Overall, the outlook for the macroeconomy looks good. So I think at some point it had to reflect into the prices, and the market has responded positively to it, although quite fast. But nevertheless, this is how the nature of the market is. Although IT and pharma have corrected a bit recently, but then nevertheless the business outlook for them is good. So if they correct a bit more, maybe we would consider increasing allocation, but at this point we would stay put. The businesses are on a good footing. Their addressable market is doing well. On the cap good side and the domestic cyclical side, I think we'll stay invested. I think the long-term outlook is very good. Mid-cap side of cement companies, they are very attractively priced. We take a geographical approach on cement, but most mid-cap cement companies, I think, merit some kind of investment. We are quite underweight on consumption as a space per se. And the results have been subdued, particularly on the volume side. Some of these stocks are quite steeply valued, and it would take a lot to justify those valuations. So I think the risk reward is not in favor, so we will stay away from them for time being.
Okay, some news bits. We'll just wait for the flash to come in. IFB Agro's Indian made foreign liquor business. I think Tilaknagar Industries has bought out IFB Agro's IMFL business. I don't know how big the transaction would be. I'm guessing it would not be too big a transaction. But watch out for Tilaknagar. If you can pull up the chart for you. IFB Agro is illiquid, but Tilaknagar is a fairly liquid name. I think the charts will come up for you. Should be active. Tilaknagar Industries too, up about 1%, 1.5%, 2%. Yes, shooting up in trade. Everybody who is buying out these days, it seems to be up. I think Venky's is the other one. They bought out some unit. I don't have it offhand with me, but Venky's India bought out some unit. Yeah, Venkateshwara Poultry for 75 crore rupees. Venky's India too was active in the session today. Some small cap names are active in the M&A space, if I can use that term loosely. But Manish, I know you love studying a lot of these spaces. The last couple of weeks, we've gotten a slew of chemical companies on the channel. They've had a fantastic Q3, very good results. The stocks are available cheap, 4-5 PE, and the managements are fairly bullish about the next 12 to 24 months, both with regards to the export end of the market or with regards to the import substitution theme that is playing out for them. Have you looked at any? There is a slew of small names out there, and Aarti, there is a Vinati Organics, SRF, etc.
I don't know. We have one company in our portfolio which is Godrej Industries, and they are into manufacture of oleochemicals, surfactants, and a whole lot of other fatty acids, etc. As a standalone business unit in the standalone entity. So I think export realizations are quite high for some of their products. That seems to be doing quite well. Some of the names which you mentioned, I have no idea, so I wouldn't be commenting on them. But more or less, it's not a very high margin business, but the export component of these chemicals, like the oleochemicals, is a high item of export, and some of these players are monopolies, like fatty acids and some of the oleochemicals. Godrej Industries seems to be, one of the leading players. So exports are doing well for the chemicals. Those companies which are participating in exports of some of the products should tend to benefit, I would think.
Okay, I don't know if you track Tata Coffee then, because that's the other one which is up and about today. Again, a stock which is just maybe 50 or $100 off its 52-week low. But I read reports which said that the coffee prices have gone up quite a bit and probably not showing in the way Tata Coffee is reacting right now. And in all probability, their quarterly numbers will be fantastic. Have you looked at Tata Coffee recently?
Not really, Neeraj. I think it's more a play on end product prices, which is the coffee prices, and whether they are in the plantation business or not, I have no idea.
Okay, fair enough. What's the call right now on PSU banks? Manish, are you recommending some of those names? We were just talking in yesterday's session about a few of them looking at bundling their NPAs and selling them off. Is that a sign of better things to come by on the earnings front?
And if they are selling it to asset reconstruction companies, definitely taking haircut on the book value. Clearly, it's not going. 100 rupees is not going to get sold at 100 rupees. So depends on what sort of provisioning has happened. Probably many of the banks actually sell to asset reconstruction companies only when they have provided 100%. So to that extent, provisions would get released. That would impact your P&L account quite positively. So it's a welcome step if they are able to get some realizable value out of nothing, which is your NPA portion. It's a welcome step. In any case, now more or less some of the larger PSU bank chairmen seem to be of the opinion that we would have seen the worst of the NPA cycles in only next 3 quarters. And maybe markets are discounting, improvement in NPAs 3 quarters down the line and beyond. So, that is getting corrected into valuations, but at the ground level, nothing really very serious is happening on the NPA front. The situation continues to be very, very grim. Restructuring pipeline is pretty bad. In fact, it would have worsened in the fourth quarter this year as opposed to the third quarter. It's just optimism about better economic conditions 2-3 quarters down the line, which could help NPAs going forward, which is building into the stock prices of public sector banks. If it doesn't play out that way, obviously the stock prices are going to fall back. So it's more of a valuation comfort rather than anything else.
Sure. I'll just talk about that point, in just a second, but just want to address the market for our viewers again. You're looking at the index, getting into the green again, but like Neeraj pointed out, it's, a bit all over the place really, getting into the red, getting into the green, a bit volatile within a narrow range, making its attempt, but the good news is the 6,500 is being held still. And no crackdown is really coming into the markets. Likewise for the broader indices. The reason I was talking to you about, the potential run for PSU banks, or whether, there is investor interest building in this pocket, is primarily because of what's happening with the cap goods space or some of these engineering companies, some of the companies which have deleveraged their balance sheets, which is being really looked at as a process of, cleansing and perhaps building from ground zero on improving earnings going forward as growth picks up. Your point on NPA cycle and how that pans out is fair, but purely from a valuation perspective, if that's the opinion that the NPA cycle is bottoming out and growth is going to come in, isn't the value margin a bit more than, if you compare it to private banks which have already run up quite a bit?
So that's the trade. Anything which has got beaten down is now moving up. Whether with or without fundamentals. That's the basic trade which is happening. Money seems to be moving out of technology and pharma, which has given good return, and money is moving into this. But whether all of this is based on fundamentals, I'm not very sure, and I'm not really vouching for that point. It's more of a hope that things are going to improve, and so on and so forth, which could impact the profit and loss accounts of banks going forward. But the end point is, where is the capital for the public sector bank? So it's definitely a valuation play, provided you have 2-3 years point of view. Right now, it may just be a trade. Traders are getting in the public sector banks and then maybe book out at some point in time. So it's more of a trading play rather than anything. It's only very serious investors who tend to take a call 2-3 years down the line, because 2-3 years down the line, situation would be much better. Provided the government addresses the capital requirement for public sector banks. You're going to require humongous amounts of capital. Otherwise, you are not able to grow your balance sheet. Your balance sheet growth would suffer, and so earnings growth would be an issue. Based on current situation, revival in the investment cycle may be good for the capital goods space. Nothing seems to be moving on the ground. Order book positions would have bottomed out, but margin position is definitely not bottomed out. So these sectors which have got beaten down were languishing, have seen some recovery. Whether all this is based on fundamentals, definitely not. There's more of a hope rather than anything else. Whether the hope will translate into reality, we'll know after the formation of the new government. And if it plays out that way, current valuations or current stock prices would tend to stay at the current levels or move up. But and it's always that way, markets discount the possibilities, future possibilities. So otherwise they will fall back. But that's how it is as of now.
And the timing of that would be critical, because you don't know which run-up is just a trading bounce or the market discounting a structural change in the business cycle. Having stated that, what is your view on NBFCs right now, and with the big expectation on banking license, especially a stock like IDFC?
So last quarter numbers seem to suggest that the NPA problems is now percolated down to the NBFCs as well. If you see the NPA situation in Mahindra and Mahindra Finance, it was very, very alarming. And one of the finest NBFCs having more of a retail lending book as opposed to the corporate book, and NPA shot through the roof. So one needs to be very, very selective. I think the run up in IDFC is more on account of expectations of winning a banking license, but again that would be a winner's curse, because we all know that the first 5 years, a new bank license person wouldn't really make any money. In fact, he would incur losses. So entire business model needs to be changed. Revival in economic cycle, NPA situations getting better in the next 6 months, definitely not. And if beyond that, maybe situation would improve. It would definitely improve. Whether it's too early to price that into stock price, could be, but nothing very sure-footed on the NBFC front. The situation is bad. NPA problems are now getting down to the NBFC space as well. We have Bajaj Finance, so they have a very niche market segment, and the credit appraiser is very, very sound. Or something like Sundaram Finance, very niche player. So one needs to look at the balance sheet situation of NBFCs, which on a very general basis couldn't be said are now still away from the NPA problems. NPA problems are coming to NBFCs as well.
Oh yes, indeed. Okay, Manish, stay on. We'll probably just get in maybe an idea or two out of you. I hear out one more voice though. We're speaking on the fundamental end of the market. Vikas Khemani of Edelweiss believes that this is the right time to start looking at the domestic focused sectors, and believes that cyclicals will make a comeback. He also insists to remain invested in defensives for the long term.
And we'll have to see how the news flow continues from here to sort of elections, what kind of vibes come, because it's still a long period of time. And how the news flow comes, how the fund flow comes, will determine the course of the market from here on. Given the big valuation gap between the large caps and the mid caps, mid cap will tend to outperform. Mid cap will create significant shareholder wealth. We've been advising investors to add beta to their portfolio through capital goods sectors, through banking and financial services sector, through automobile sector. These are the three sectors which we think will do well if the election outcome is favorable, and I think the economic start picking up. We believe that now you have to have balanced of two portfolios, two kind of one set of companies which are focused on the domestic economy, and other is on the export economy. The domestic economy focused stocks and segments might do well in a shorter term, in next 3 to 6 months, but and the other segment might sort of being defensive in nature, underperform in shorter term. And hence, I'm not commenting on the short-term portfolio strategy, but from longer-term perspective, you have to have both these segments of the stock in your portfolio.
All right, that's of course Edelweiss Finance view coming in. Sandeep, come to you on some of the other key losers in the market session today, especially the likes of Hindalco, an ONGC and a BHEL, all of which are down in excess of 2%.
Yes, Tanvir, I would talk of a BHEL that can go down further. That is the weakest. In fact, I had this as a sell in this show, and I think at 184 I would talk of levels of around 178, a clear 3-4-5% trading downside even from the current levels. So BHEL for me is a sell.
Hitesh, a word really on L&T Finance, that's up 5% today. We spoke about we spoke about Just Dial, which has come off quite a bit, but L&T Finance is holding up on that FN inclusion news.
morning, L&T Finance with targets of around 86, 87. I think once it manages to get past those levels, and clearly the chart pattern does suggest that, I think 95 should be the next target for the stock. So I'm quite positive over here. Would not want to buy now, but I think if it manages to show strength beyond 87, 88, then would want to buy again. We already have a long recommendation around 80 levels, and I think 95 would be the target, which has been the highest ever weekly closing the stock has recorded.
Okay, autos have had a mixed bag today. By the way, I think Tata Motors has come off for quite a bit, so 388 and counting. It's trading very close to, or actually at the day's lows. BHEL and Hindalco are amongst the other top losers in trade. Manish, before we let you go, is there any space where your view is starkly different from the market? Something where you believe the market is giving a lot of favor to an excessively valued sector or stock, or some space where you're extremely bullish but the valuations are not picking up because the market is not realizing it right now?
I didn't know, the buzzword in India, particularly from a foreigner's point of view, is e-commerce. I don't know how many plays you have in India, but given the statistics which we see in China, etc., I think this entire space and units of this space, corollaries to this space, which is basically your logistics, etc., they are far undervalued at current prices than what it should be, given the size of the opportunity, and eventually it is going to play out that way. So maybe over a period of time all these things would correct, but some of the internet companies, the logistics space and ancillaries which would be supportive to the e-commerce, particularly the logistics, they could be very surprise gainers over the next 2, 3, 4 years. Remarkable increase in prices could happen in this space.
Just clarifying, you're talking about the Gatis and the Blue Darts of the world, right?
Yeah, you have 3, 4 players which really stand a chance to survive, because please remember that this space is highly fragmented and margins are extremely small, wafer thin margins. We are looking at a GST coming in over the next 2, 3 years. That's the big picture. Most of the fragmented smaller guys are not going to survive. The entire business is going to come to these 3, 4, 5 players. And you have a front end, which is the e-commerce providing opportunity, which is going to throw up huge business opportunity. So first, the e-commerce as a whole, the internet space, which would be providing the e-commerce. You don't have too many names in the listed space. There are many in the unlisted space. But as a play on the e-commerce, you could have a very significant run in this space.
Great, Manish. Good having you as always. Thanks so much for taking the time out and being with us and giving us your views. That's Manish Sonthalia speaking about his view on the market. Watch out. He believes that there is a possibility that some of the logistic companies could actually have fairly high re-rating in the times to come over the course of the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. So just watch out for these stocks.